Now, we're trying to throw Jesus out of the time that we've set aside to represent his birthday. They don't want him to be mentioned anymore. That's like celebrating Washington's birthday without mentioning Washington. It's ludicrous. But that's where we've come to. To be sure, these boys had a panoramic view of life. They each had their own city. They each had their own sports car. They were looking at life through rose-colored glasses. They really thought that their view of life was what it was all about and what was really happening. These were really happening dudes. That's who these guys were. They could not see that the Philistines and the Ammonites were just over the horizon. Let me tell you something. You can sometimes get your eyes focused on yourself too much and not see the danger ahead. You need to be aware of the Ammonites. You need to look out for the Philistines. You need to watch for the enemy because he is everywhere trying to deceive you and harm you and hurt you. The Bible said that the work of Satan is to steal, to kill, and to destroy. And he will do that to you. Go through the Bible and read the time that God said, "He that hath an ear, let him hear, and seeing they see not, and hearing they hear not." And so in the message to the churches of all ages, given in the message to the 7 churches in the book of Revelation, there at Asia Minor, God prefaced every message with this statement: "Let him that hath an ear hear what the Spirit says to the churches." God concluded that the message to the church in Laodicea, he concluded the message to the church in Laodicea in verse 17. He says, "Because you say, I am rich, increased with goods, and have need of nothing, and knowest not that thou art wretched and miserable and poor and blind and naked." So it's possible. It's possible for people to gather on Sunday morning and be in a beautiful cathedral or a beautiful place with stained glass windows and pictures of Christ and all of these things, and still not really have the kind of vision they need to have, and not have the kind of power they need to have, and not realize what's going on around them. If we're not careful, we just have a social club with a tax-exempt status. That's not what we want. We want to worship the Lord and love him and make him first in our lives and love people and care about them. Prosperity without purpose. Don't let that happen to you in your life. Some of us are more prosperous than others. We don't need to get into each other's bank accounts. That's not my business to know how much you have or even be concerned about how much you have. That's not my business. My business is to simply say that no matter how prosperous you are, whether it's a lot prosperous or a small prosperous, make sure you have a purpose in your life. Make sure you have that good purpose. And secondly, don't have prestige for that power. Don't. Have power in your life, because Jesus taught us that when I leave, he said, you're going to be able to have power in your life. The Holy Spirit is coming. He's going to live inside of you, and you have power. But the churches don't often recognize, individuals don't recognize the power they have. We don't recognize the influence. And I don't say this this is the only example I can think of to use right now, is me. A couple of Saturdays ago, and I don't know, I may have told you this story. Woody and I were going to meet up in Longview and have lunch and go to a show, a gun show. I'd never been one before, and I just wanted to go see. But before we met, I said, look, he had to go take Kelly some food. I said, I'm going to go over to the Harley shop and look at some chrome. And he said, well, I'll just meet you over there. And I said, okay. So I get over there and I'm waiting, and I thought, what am I doing here? I'm not interested in the motorcycle. I'm too old to be scooting around on a motorcycle. And I'm not interested. So Woody meets me over there, and we both get out of the vehicles, And I said, Woody says, are you interested in the bike? And I said, no. And he goes, I'm not either. He goes, I'm not. I said, I'm not either. I said, you want to just go? And he said, yeah. And I said, no, we're already here. Let's go and look at some chrome. I do like chrome. So we walk inside. We had no idea why we were going there. And all of a sudden, out from here to the back of the pew is a guy standing behind the counter. Randy is his name. And Randy looks up and he sees me. And he comes just as fast as he can. And he walks up close to me and I said, Randy, how you doing? I bought my last motorcycle from Randy several years ago. And when his father got real sick, I helped get his father on hospice, or told him about hospice. And I went through that, talking to him about his father's. And he came up and I said, Randy, how you doing? He said, well, okay. He said, I'm doing better now. And I said, you're awful thin. You've lost a lot of weight. And he said, well, yeah. He said, you haven't hurt, have you? And I said, no. I said, I haven't been in here in 6 months. He said, my wife died in October. Randy's not very old. He's probably 40, I'm going to guess. Suddenly, she died suddenly. Got a liver disease and, died within 2 weeks. And he just began to talk. And Woody said, I went in my chaplain mode, I just listened to him and asked him a few questions and whatever. And then when it was finished with, I just grabbed hold of him and pulled him up to me. He's much shorter than me. Just pulled him up there and I said, I'm going to pray for you. He said, okay. And we stood there and we had prayer for him and he began to weep. And, it was just really good. And then he had some customers come in and whatever. And so Woody and I walked outside and Woody said, well, I know why we came to the Harley shop. I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but I'm simply saying that, there's people who need us. And if we're not careful, we will miss the opportunity to minister to them. Don't miss that opportunity. Let your life have that purpose in there that God intended to have.